low grade 11. We're going to do a program of reading from a text file into arrays, two arrays. So here is the button for the data files. What we want to have happen is when we run the program, we want it to, you click the button to read from a text file to arrays, and then you display two arrays in the rich edit. As you can see, there's a name and a mark. Now this is coming from the text file named names and marks. You're going to take each line, separate the name from the mark in each line, and put the name in an array called ARR names and the mark in an array called ARR marks. So we'll do that in the following manner. So we double click the button. The first thing to do is to make sure we have a text file variable and a string, and then we check if the file exists. If not, file exists, and the thing is called names and marks. The text file is called namesmarks.txt, and if it doesn't exist, then we're going to show message and exit. No file, exit, and we can safely then go and have an assigned file statement then, and the text file name. So remember that we did text file handling in term 1. We reset my file, reset the text file, and then we say while not end of file, my file, do, and then begin and end. We're going to read a line from the text file into S line. Then we take S line and we copy each one. So to do it separately, let's just make a variable called S name. We don't have to do it this way. We can go put it straight into the arrays, but we do it this way. And I mark integer. The marks are integers. We have two arrays, one called ARR names and one called ARR marks. Now we're not going to use ARR names here. We're going to make another array called ARR, call it something else, names, I can't say, all names only, colon array 1, 2, well, there are 15 lines of the text file, just so happens to be. But what if we didn't know how many lines there were of the text file? Well, then you would have a counter, and then that would be like maybe 100, and because ARR marks is going to be parallel, we'll make that 100 as well. If I put this like such, put them together there, we'll know that they are now parallel arrays. And our count ARR is going to be the number of boxes that will actually be filled. So when we read from the text file, we set our count ARR equal to 0 before we start reading from the text file, and we increment our count ARR for each line that is read. And then let's go and get our name. We copy from S line starting at 1. The number of characters will be the position of the comma in S line, sorry, round bracket, -1. Okay, once we've got S name, where do we get it from? Well, that was the line that was read. We're copying from character number 1, which is J in the case of the first line, to the position of the comma -1, which will be those characters. We put that into S name, and then we're actually going to go and put it into ARR all names only, square brackets, R count ARR, because it's the counter that we've incremented for each line. Box number R count ARR, it will be 1 for the first line. We put that into S name into that array box number. Right, now we can go and delete the name from S line. Remember we read from the text file into a string called S line. So now we're going to delete that name using the same set of parameters that we don't use the -1 because we want to delete the comma as well. So we now effectively deleted this from S line, okay, and we're left with the 99, okay. And then we can say our mark equals string to int S line. Because S line is a string, you're converting it to an integer now. And then we go and put that mark into AR marks, square brackets, our count AR equal to I mark. Because the marks, AR marks is an array of integers. AR names only is an array of strings. Right, so we've gone and put the mark in there. So now the arrays are filled. And we want to then go and display both the arrays in the rich edit. So this is the button to do that. Display arrays in this, not the string grid, the rich edit. Sorry about that. It's not a string grid. Rich edit. Double click the button. How do we display in a rich edit? How do we display arrays? Well, we know how many boxes are filled for those two arrays. We're going to take those parallel arrays and display them in the rich edit. We know how many are filled. How many are there? Our count ARR indices have been filled because we did that in the text file, handling in that button reading from text file. So we're going to use a for loop because we know how many. We're going to go from k, for k equals 1 to our count ARR, and then we just go and quote the rich edit name already out dot lines dot add AR names names only. It's called arrow names only. I keep forgetting what I called it. Arrow names only, square brackets k plus, and then we can use a hash noun or a space, and then int to string. We've got to convert that item in the array box called ARR marks, because ARR marks is an integer, so we say int to string to display that in the rich edit. Right, so now we're going to run the program. And we read, and then we display. So there they are, nice and neatly displayed. Okay, now the next thing that we did, we're going to sort an array. The array we're actually going to sort in this case now is going to be AR names. I just put this other array in here because I wanted you to see that you can have an array of names declared as a variable and filled at the same time. It's not a constant, so we can sort this array out, and we are going to sort this array now. So AR names, we are going to sort it. Okay. We can also sort these two as well, you know, but let's just sort one array, and we're going to do that now. Let's go and put a button on the form to sort one array. Sort one array. And we're going to display it as well. So we double click the button. How do we sort? This is what we do. We've got to memorize this. We have two variables, k and l. Okay. Then we're going to say for k equals 1 to the number of boxes minus 1. Remember, we're sorting ARR names now. ARR names has been filled already. We know exactly how many boxes are filled. There are 15, and they are actually given values. Each box is given a value. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to go from 1 to 15 minus 1, which is 14. That's our first for loop. The second for loop is for L equals k plus 1. We write k plus 1 here to 15. Do just memorize that for now. Then we have begin and end. Now we have an if statement. We say if AR names, we want to put it in alphabetical order. We say AR names box number k, the first one, if it's greater than the second one of that array, box number L will be the second box. Remember, if you start with k1, k equal 1, then L is going to be k plus 1. So if box number 1 is greater than box number 2, which means the name in box number 1 is higher in the alphabetical order. If you look carefully, John is not greater than Vuzi, but if I put Vuzi here, Vuzi is greater than John. Why? Because V is further down the alphabet. It's got a higher numerical value than J. And if you compare John and Joe, Joe is smaller than John because there's an H there which is higher value than the O in Joe. So that is strings have also got numerical values. So if K is greater than L, we know that L is more, it's got a lower number, so therefore it will be first in the alphabetical order. So if that is your greater than sign, you want to put it in alphabetical order, then we do a swap. Because if the first one is greater up the alphabet than the second box, then we want to swap them around. So we need a temporary variable to swap. So we make a temp. It must be the same data type as the array that we are sorting. In this case it's a string, so we say stemp colon string. We're going to store one of the names into stemp. And you can decide which one, but I normally do the K in the stemp. Then I say AR names box number L will be equal to AR names box number K. No, wait. No, we say AR names box number K equals box number L. We've put K safely. The first box, we're putting it safely into stemp. And then we go and put box number L's name into box number K. And then we give AR names box number L the original one that was in box number K, which is stemp. And there's your sorting algorithm done. And now all we do is display for K equals 1 to 15. In this case it's 15. It's exactly 15 because we're dealing with this array that's already been filled with 15 names. We do already out dot lines dot add AR names box number K. Would be a good idea to clear the rich edit before we display anything, so that we don't have any things to sift through to find where everything is. So over here as well, already out dot clear. Right, so that's sorting one array. Now what about if we sort two arrays? So in this button click event, we're going to sort two arrays now. Okay, so when I sort two arrays, which ones am I going to sort? Well, I'm decided I'm going to sort these two arrays, AR names only and AR marks. Okay, let's do these two. We're going to sort two arrays at the same time. Why are we going to sort two arrays? Well, because they're parallel. If you want to sort this array according to AR names, then we've got to sort the AR marks as well. So if you have parallel arrays, you have to sort them, you've got to work with two. So it's the same formula applies. You use K and L as integers for loop counters. Then we say for K equals, now this case is going to be our count ARR is the number of boxes that we're using. Because we don't know, we read from the text file, we don't know how many lines there are so in the text file, so I'm using our count ARR. So our count ARR minus 1, and then we say for L equals K plus 1 to the very last box, which is our count ARR. Then we have our begin and end. We ask our if statement. If ARR, are we sorting according to names or marks? We must decide. Hey, we can sort according to marks. Okay, let's sort according to marks. If AR marks from the smallest, let's go from the highest to the lowest. If AR marks box number K is less than ARR marks box number L, I want to go from the highest to the lowest mark. Okay, from the highest to the lowest, and then we use a less than sign. So if box number 1 is less than box number 2, then we're going to swap. Now take note, I'm not sorting according to names now, I'm sorting according to marks. Then we got to have, because we're going to sort arrow marks, we actually have to make sure that we're going to swap both the items in the array, names only and arrow marks. So there's a string and then there's an integer data type, so we need a temporary integer and a temporary string. So I'm going to make my temp here stemp a string, because I've got to swap the items in arrow names only, and itemp as a temporary integer because I've got to swap the marks. So let's start with the marks. Itemp equals ARR marks, square brackets, K, and then we go and replace arrow marks with ARR marks box number K, replace it with arrow marks box number L, which is the second one if we were going through this loop, the first run of the loop, and then we say ARR marks box number L equals itemp. Okay, but we have to swap the names as well, so we say ARR names only box number, oh wait, no, we've got to say stemp, eh? I'm going to copy and paste here because I don't feel like typing so much, and then I'm going to use my my sync edit mode, type stemp there, and then all I have to do is type arrow names only, so that automatically helps with typing. As you can see, we've done the swap for 2 arrays, and there's the sorting algorithm done to sort 2 arrays. Now if we want to go and display these 2 arrays, there's a quick method to do this. We can just call our on-click event, because we have got an on-click event to display 2 arrays, haven't we? This button over here called display arrays in rich edit. When we click that, we're displaying the array names only and AR marks. If you want to display those 2 arrays, all I have to do is I don't have to write this code over again. I can just call button 3. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to ask the processor to run button 3. I'll just say the words here, button 3 dot click. So this prevents me from having to write the code for button 3. Or I could copy and paste the code on button 3, but you know, time is everything. So here we go. We read the first array from a text file. The first text file. We click there. We get the 2 arrays displayed. We're sorting one array according to names. Sorting the 2 arrays, there they are in marks from 100 all the way down to 0. So those 2 arrays have been sorted according to marks. If you wanted to sort according to names, then you say ARR names only over here. But we are sorting according to marks in this case. Alright, so that's for this lesson. I'm going to make another video so you can see what we're doing today.